almost all the movies in the world could eventually end up on Netflix. So you can vote.
You know,
Your communities develop. You know, there's so many.
But it's a matter of when you can. The one thing that Netflix doesn't allow is it allow you to see other people's lists. You know, so it doesn't allow you.
now it actually is. You know, it's curious. I've engaged with them for a long time and know them, and there's some fascinating things like when they shift their business model, as we all know, on a weekly basis. But I always like this statistic that Ted Sarandis, the chief content officer, always said, which was the longer somebody is on Netflix, the more their taste moves to auteur cinema. And the more friends they have on Netflix, the faster that transformation is. The social group, is really the biggest influence to one's taste. What our friends are doing drives our taste more than anything else. But we live in America, where because Robert Bork, one of our Supreme Court justices, is a porno addict, we aren't allowed to share what we watch with each other. That's the base of what it comes down to. Is that when he was getting confirmed, it was revealed that he was probably a chronic masturbator or something like that, and he was embarrassed. And so he engineered passing the Video Privacy Act, which so right now Facebook and Netflix have aligned so that everywhere else in the world you can share what you watch, when you watch it with other people, except here in America, the land of freedom, where it's illegal to let people know what you're watching when you watch it. You can share the past and you can share your future desire, but you can't share your present. That will get thrown out of court, but it's held now for 10 years because of one of our Supreme Court justices.
Is that something you'll be able to opt out of, though, if you are a chronic masturbator?
And don't want to share
You got to be on the
I think that we get more sophisticated in our privacy laws, and there's tools for everything.
You guys are talking about community, and I actually work in a very tech-savvy visual effects business, and there are actually TV guides for pretty much anything you could ever watch pirated. And so there's a lot of people who stream, like pretty much any TV show in the world, any film that's coming out, don't have to be downloaded. And how do you, as a content creator, kind of work with the flow of all this pirated streaming craziness that there's no way that you can control it? I mean, there's that they're not getting shut down. There's everything you could ever imagine. I go on Netflix, I can never find anything. I go onto one of these sites, all of a sudden I have everything at my fingertips.
I've been to the warehouse in China, right? In the top, it's called David's. And if you ever go to Beijing, this is where you want to go, because it just it lets you know where we're at. Every single film is there. Every single film. You can get it. You can get it price point. They have HDMI players now, where I watched it happen. You go in the store, someone brings in a brick, they buy, for $20, they get 120 mega, they go through, they just do a checklist, they shove the brick in, they take the brick out, and they have all their movies on it, and they go home and watch it, and they come back and do that sort of thing. But this is what I think about piracy. The people that pirate films tend to also be the people that also spend the most amount of money on content. They want content. They're huge consumers of content. And the main reason they're stealing is not to rip off the artist, but because they're not getting it when they want it. And it's a problem of the system right now. That right there, that we have the pirates have a better interface than the Hollywood studios or we as independent artists have. And that's why that stuff gets stolen. Now they solve things for us. I go to China. My movies are readily available there. I don't earn any money, but I'm developing an audience in a market that I couldn't reach before. The pirates are helping me reach that, expand my trade. And eventually, if I'm smart, I should be able to harvest that. We have a mistake in our industry because we sell one thing, and that's a movie that we reformat for different platforms. And we keep believing we can sell the same thing over and over and over again, right? There's only one business that I know of, that allows you to keep selling the same thing over and over again. and that works, and that's, I think, prostitution, right? The film business needs to come up with something else and kind of recognize that film brings people together. It's a really strong glue, but we have to sell other things, a bigger experience than just watching the movie. And I think that can be...
That's where the community comes in with like the artists as
Yeah,
kind
and
of
that's why you have to think about like if you
together.
can create live events that people can go to, different kinds of merchandise. Like it happened with Vomit. Vomit was bootlegged in China, and it was actually the first graffiti documentary that was translated into Mandarin by a bootlegger. And so I actually have huge fans in China. Like when I was doing Vomit 2, I was thinking of going to China. I started calling up these people in Wuhan and huge cities in the middle of China. That
A lot bigger than Pepin.
Yeah, exactly. Big cities in China. And they all knew Vomit, and they all were like, oh my God, can you come here? We want you to come here. And I still haven't figured out how to monetize that, but one of these days I'll think of a way to monetize that. But meanwhile,
you've got the subtitles, for your film, which...
Right.
No charge.
Well, I'd have to know. I actually still want to, and it's also, I've been meaning to try to get a copy of it. I keep on wanting to get I haven't seen a copy of it, so that I could then take the subtitles off and then potentially create, whenever there's iTunes in Mandarin. That
Well, there must be a
Pirate
film
the
school in
subtitles.
China that would want to bring
Yes,
you over
pirate
to
the
do a
subtitles to the
workshop.
pirate.
There must be.
It's hard to get bookings in
They've got
China.
tapes of them
Yeah.
already doing them.
No, I've actually tried, and they say, well, what
He doesn't
you
even know he's
do...
done them yet, and they have them.
Right.
That's what amaze you in China.
No, they actually say what you do is relatively subversive in China because you're teaching people to do something outside of the system, so they don't really want to hear that.